All right, welcome back to CEO Money. I'm Michael Yorba, your host. All right, I've got Blaine Bertsch on the show with us. DryRun is the company. He is the CEO and co-founder on this. All right, Blaine, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for the invite.
All right, my pleasure. Please give us a little background on yourself, and then I really want to know the back-end stuff that you do with DryRun, how you help people with what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I started out in small business in 1999 and ran a service company. It was project-based. And, the challenges we had in cash flow, the challenges we had in understanding our sales pipeline were, honestly, once the recession hit, it was almost crippling. And that really in the long run turned into DryRun as I tried to figure out how I could help other business people, that really highly variable cash flow, reduce their risk, figure out where their business is headed, and make sure that they're able to make enough money to make it through the year, make a profit, and grow their business.
Give me some key insights on how you do that with people.
Well, one of the biggest things we found with business owners is they very rarely have a finance background, and usually they had to rely on spreadsheets, if anything at all, to try and predict what their cash flow is going to look like, try and predict what their sales were going to look like or their revenue for the year. And so one of the big things about DryRun is we make it easy for a business owner to understand. So it's got a really, a ton of power, but it's clear and it's easy to use. And we also make it really flexible because we know business isn't locked down. So it's not about reporting what's already happened. It's all about looking forward, moving things around, predicting what's going to happen. And so we actually made it scenario-based so you can do different what-if scenarios. So, a lot of times our customers will have a scenario that's just all about their near-term cash flow, what bills are due, what invoices are due, what's overdue, and how is it going to look like in reality. And then they'll run a scenario that's their longer-term sales pipeline and figure out, if I'm going to make $1 million this year, how do I do it in 12 months, not 14? And then any variation of scenarios to do those what-if tests and help you, make better informed decisions.
How much data do you need to be able to start the forecasting model?
Well, it can be really straightforward. Some of our customers will actually come in and they'll actually model it out manually, and they'll say, okay, I know it costs me $150,000 to stay in business every month. They'll just do a super basic budget, and then they'll start modeling out some of these big questions. But really, the thing that we recommend and what most of our customers do is a lot of them are using either QuickBooks Online or Xero or Pipedrive, and those are three software that we integrate with. And, let's say you take QuickBooks Online, you literally connect DryRun, a DryRun scenario to QuickBooks, you click import, and it'll bring in your bills, your invoices, your expenses, your bank accounts, all that stuff in usually a minute. And suddenly you've got your data right into DryRun, and then you can start manipulating it. Now you can, build a budget and build a repeating budget that repeats into the future. And man, you can have an incredible amount of data and logic built into DryRun in really quite a short amount of time.
Okay. All right. Ed, you're waving your hands. You got a question for him?
Well, I guess, I think about small businesses and what they're trying to do as far as cash flow analysis is concerned. How or can you, or I guess, teach people to try to dictate the benefits of being able to have the surety of cash flow? Because the issue you have with cash flow in any small business is getting paid. That's part of the problem in forecasting. So how do you do data analytics, or how does your system do data analytics to try to convince people that they need to take a much more aggressive stance in making sure that cash flow actually becomes cash flow?
Well, to be completely honest, when people see it in reality, like one of the things that DryRun does, we put in a little feature that is quite simple, but we say bump overdue items forward. And so every time they open up DryRun, if something's overdue, they're staring at it, and they can see all these red markers, and they can see how much money they're owed. And it gives them an idea of, man, we got to follow up with this stuff. Sometimes seeing is believing, but we know a lot of the businesses that we deal with, they're not waiting on a $1.99 invoice to get paid. They're waiting on oftentimes a couple $100,000 spread across several invoices to get paid, and it has a fundamental difference on their business if they can get paid on time. So we actually really encourage them, move those invoices around based on what you know. There's no automatic data logic that can tell me, like, my customer John had a delay in his payment, and I'm not getting it till 65 days. But I'll know that from talking to him. So we say move that stuff around so you can get an honest look if you're going to, kind of get into a crunch. But honestly, one of the things we recommend to virtually every customer is get a bookkeeper or an accountant helping you with this, because it's just absolutely ideal. We find the best circumstances is when there's a bookkeeper and accountant is managing that near-term cash flow, staying on top of it, talking to the business owners and saying, hey, you're the 150 grand outstanding right now, and you're headed for a crunch in 3 weeks if you don't get something happening. And let the business owner spend more of their time on the longer-term revenue, forecast, because we also know if you have a cash flow problem today, and assuming they're actually getting paid on time, usually you can look back 6 months and say, yeah, you had a problem with your sales 6 months ago, and you weren't bringing in enough sales, and they weren't closing, and now you have a cash flow problem. So those sales are really today's sales or tomorrow's cash flow. So we know the business owner is or their sales team is better positioned to deal with that, but we also know that if they can have a finance pro on the other side, it's going to just be a huge help to them.
That makes perfect sense to me. How about you, Ed?
Makes perfect sense to me, too. I think that the biggest thing the businesses face, obviously, is collecting. And when you get to the point where you have aged accounts receivable, it can be problematic.
Yeah, I get it. What are some of the other insights you want to bring out on the show today?
Well, actually, like that's such a good, like picking up that those age receivables are so important. Right. And literally, like we talk with business owners every day, and we actually are talking with them all the time about ways to actually get paid faster. And so, total side note here, but you can actually come to DryRun.com and contact us there. We actually have some articles that we can send. They can help people plan, ahead of time to get paid faster, because there's things you can do right from when you're negotiating the terms of a contract through to, how quick you invoice, how you send those invoices, the terms you set. There's things you can do if you plan from the start that actually helps get paid faster. And it is such a critical thing that we want to instill that into businesses, into their processes. So that's something that I definitely want to mention is it is, if you don't put this data into action, it's not going to help you too much.
Give us a couple of nuggets. I mean, you don't have to, give us the entire recipe and tell us, the secret sauce, but we got a minute or two before we have to close out, and I just want to see if you can throw a couple of nuggets out there for somebody to go, oh, okay, I got it. I resonate with that.
Well, I think one of the biggest things is you have. It's almost like going to the gym at times. Like you have to commit yourself and say, this is going to fundamentally change my business because it's going to show me where I'm going. It's going to reduce my anxiety, but most importantly, I'm going to have time to react and do something before a potential cash flow crunch hits. Like I always say, if you go to your bank and say, hey, we're out of cash on Friday, they're going to show you the door.
Right.
But if you go to the bank and say, hey, I've got, I think, a cash flow crunch coming, it looks like 4 weeks out. Here's what it looks like. Here's the sales that we have planned out. And so we've got a plan in place to deal with it. Much more likely they're going to help you out. So knowing gives you those options. Knowing will reduce that anxiety. But the other thing is to make sure you're not just looking at that near term, I've sent out an invoice, I've got a bill in hand, but predicting your revenue, predicting those sales, and doing it on a timeline, because a long list of sales isn't going to tell you the same thing as a timeline, which is going to maybe potentially tell you you have highs, you have lows, you have capacity issues. When jobs don't get on an even sort of flow, so lay out that sales pipeline as well, and get a real good idea of how you're going to, make your year and make a profit.
Got it. Blaine, we got to go, but thanks for being here. Valuable insight. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, guys.
You're welcome. Blaine Bertsch, co-founder and CEO, DryRun, DryRun.com. Get ahead of the game with what this guy's doing. Stay ahead of your cash flow. All right, you've been listening to CEO Money with Michael Yorba. Follow us on all our podcasts, wherever you get them, and all the social media. It's out there. Just Google us, search us, CEO Money, WFN1, or Michael Yorba. You'll find us. Thanks for listening. We'll be back again tomorrow with more great content just for you.